Good afternoon. I'm Hilary Marshall, Vice President of Stakeholder Relations and Communications at the Greater Toronto Airports Authority, and I am pleased to call this meeting to order. I wish I had a gavel. To begin, I'd like to confirm that all the requirements for public notice have been met, as well as other conditions for holding this meeting. We will be conducting today's meeting in English, but we're also happy to address questions in French. Our agenda today includes remarks from the chair of our board, David Wilson, our President and Chief Executive Officer, Howard Eng, and Ian Clark, our CFO and VP of Finance, after which I will open the floor to questions from the public. Off the top, I would like to introduce Jim Fott of Laura Consulting. There's Jim over here up at the front, who will moderate our Q&A session later this afternoon. Jim has over a decade of experience as a moderator of community events and will ensure that everyone gets the most out of this session by keeping us on topic and on time. If there are any members of the media, we just ask that you hold your questions until after the Q&A, and we'd be happy to talk to you then. I'd also like to take this opportunity to mention that for the first time this year, we're live streaming this event on the web. And then by way of housekeeping and orientation, the exits are located on my left, and the washrooms are located in the foyer. If you didn't register your license plate on the way in, please do at the registration desk before you leave to ensure you're not charged for parking. See, I'm taking care of you. Finally, I'd like to ask everyone to put their cell phones on mute as we get underway. And with that, I will call David Wilson to the podium to deliver his remarks.
Thank you, Hilary, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to have this opportunity to share the perspective of the Board of Directors on Toronto Pearson's recent performance and long-term strategy. As most of you know, the GTAA is a corporation with no shareholders, but many stakeholders. And in the board, in providing oversight, reflects those stakeholders' differing perspectives, priorities, and unique points of view. We have directors nominated by governments at the federal, provincial, and municipal levels, as well as regional boards of trade, the Ontario Professional Associations. Directors are chosen for their skills and expertise, and directors also represent the diverse communities and dynamic regional economy that surrounds the airport. The Board of Directors does not manage Toronto Pearson. That's the job of the executive team led by our CEO here. But collectively, board members contribute advice and counsel to the development of corporate strategy. And then we oversee how that strategy is implemented to meet the needs of passengers, carriers, and all other stakeholders. I recently read a quote that nicely captures the relationship between boards and management roles. It's from the famous U.S. General George S. Patton, who said, quote, "Don't tell people how to do things. Tell them what to do, and then let them surprise you with the results." As the board oversees how priorities are moved forward at the GTA, by the GTAA executive team, we're consistently impressed by the breadth and depth of value that they add in execution. And in fact, that same principle extends to the thousands of people who work at our vast, complex airport. The key to effective leadership is to set clear goals and then empower everyone to bring their unique expertise, experience, and creativity to making those goals into realities. Over the past year, the GTAA once again made measurable progress towards the objectives set out in our 20-year strategic plan. We continued to meet the challenge of growing demand for air travel to and from Southern Ontario and the rest of Canada, as well as the rise in traffic from connecting passengers who see our airport as an efficient global hub. At the same time, the GTAA maintained a steady shift in emphasis, evident for several years now, I believe, in how we view the scope of our strategic priorities. Excuse me. Thank you, Hilary. Sorry. Sorry, pardon me, I'll be with you in a minute. Excuse me. Originally, we were focused on developing and operating a key piece of Canada's transportation infrastructure. We help travelers get, here we go again, we help travelers get quickly and safely from Pearson to cities around the world. Today, we see our role more as a provider of critical connections between the local and global economies, and between the services we help to deliver and the transportation networks that extend across our surrounding region. I'd like to briefly highlight three key dimensions of this wider-reaching connectivity. First, how we're proposing to improve ground transportation with Toronto Pearson as a regional hub. Next, how we're elevating the airport's role in the global transportation network. And lastly, how we're connected to neighboring communities, supporting initiatives to boost social and economic well-being. So first, improving ground transportation, not just to and from our airport, but for the entire region, was once again a top planning priority for the GTAA throughout 2016. Earlier this year, we unveiled our proposal to develop a regional transportation center at Toronto Pearson, integrating rail, light rail, and bus connections to communities across the Greater Golden Horseshoe. This multimodal hub will improve access to the airport. Even more importantly, it will bring much-needed transport options to the Airport Employment Zone, the AEZ, the dynamic area around Pearson that is Canada's second largest employment cluster. Over 300,000 people work in this part of the GTA, and more than 90% of them are forced to make their daily commute by road. Every day, over 1 million vehicle trips add to already high congestion in the area. The time people spend in traffic stifles their productivity, erodes their quality of life, and of course greatly increases greenhouse gas emissions. And that is why we've taken the lead in planning for a smart, cost-efficient transit center at Toronto Pearson. Because like our airport, it will improve social and economic well-being across the entire region. In the coming year, we'll be deepening our constructive partnerships with key stakeholders in this initiative, including transit authorities and federal, provincial, and municipal governments. Together, we'll determine how our plan can be implemented to maximize regional productivity, competitiveness, and economic well-being. At the same time, we're looking outward at our airport's evolution in the international context. Toronto Pearson is already well established as a global hub. But as our airport continues to grow steadily to meet the rapid growth in demand, it fulfills many of the criteria for an emerging higher tier category that is being called a mega hub. Defined by numbers, a mega hub is an airport serving over 50 million passengers in a year, at least 20 million of those passengers originating from abroad. A mega hub supports levels of connectivity with a few global hubs that have the capacity or financial resilience to sustain. And the benefits to the surrounding region and the entire country can be significant. Each new direct route or scheduled flight brings additional valuable connections to a mega hub. These in turn drive exponential economic gains, including job creation and foreign direct investment. Howard Ang, our CEO, who will be speaking to you in a moment, has the full endorsement of the board in developing and actively pursuing this mega hub strategy. He's been talking frequently with external stakeholders about Toronto Pearson's potential to create local prosperity through global connectivity. We expect those consultations to become more robust in the year ahead. Our discussions about Toronto Pearson's future are part of a broader conversation with all of our stakeholders, and particularly those who live and do business nearby. This is the final aspect of connectivity I wanted to touch on this afternoon, our connection to our local communities. In the past year, we extended and strengthened Toronto Pearson's relationships with organizations such as the Oakville Community Foundation, who welcomed us as a lead sponsor for a program to promote diversity and inclusion. At our last annual public meeting a year ago, we celebrated the tremendous group effort that went into welcoming thousands of Syrian refugees arriving at Toronto Pearson. That positive spirit has was sustained throughout the past year as we continued to support many of the newcomers who settled in the communities around our airport. By matching travelers' generous donations, we've been able to provide $150,000 in transit passes to newly arrived families. And we've sponsored the Syrian Children's Choir in its remarkable work to make young newcomers feel welcome through music. Some of you may have had the pleasure of hearing them perform. These and many other public engagement initiatives undertaken in 2016 reflect the GTAA's renewed focus on corporate giving. Adopting a model pioneered by the not-for-profit Imagine Canada, the board voted in late 2015 to invest 1% of annual net revenues in support of local charities and community-based organizations in the vicinity. Through the Propeller Project, Toronto Pearson's charitable investment program, we're focusing on initiatives that create pathways to employment and build stronger surrounding communities. Our first step was to establish a governance framework, including a committee of distinguished external advisors, along with processes to review and approve grant applications that we receive. Once the governance structure was in place, we were pleased to donate an initial $800,000 in the first year to an array of deserving organizations. This collective commitment to the public good is in keeping with an organization and an entire airport enterprise that is dedicated to helping millions of people get where they need to get quickly, safely, and comfortably within our terminals, throughout our communities, and around the globe. That same commitment is reflected in the individual dedication of our board members. This year, one of our board members, Poonam Puri, a respected lawyer and an expert in corporate governance, has reached the end of her mandated term as a GTAA director. We're very grateful to Poonam for her many valuable years and contributions as a director of the organization. And recently, another of our directors, Ian Clark, a GTAA director since 2012, withdrew from the board in order to take on the role of interim chief financial officer for the organization, following the departure of our previous CFO. Ian made a significant contribution as a board member, including as chair of the audit committee, and he brings a wealth of experience as interim CFO, notably most recently as CFO of Maple Leaf Sports Enterprises and Entertainment, stepping in to support our executive team. Today, we also welcome a new member to the board, Mark Schwab, who brings a wealth of deeply relevant experience and insights. Mark has served in a number of senior executive roles in the airline industry, most recently as CEO of the Star Alliance, of which many of you know. And after starting out 4 decades ago working in passenger services and managing ramp crews, I think it's safe to say Mark knows every aspect of air carrier operations, inside and out. We're very pleased to have him join us at the boardroom table. The strategic goals that the board helps to frame are developed and put into action by the executive team led by the CEO, Howard Eng. Howard continues to demonstrate his gift for articulating the GTAA's vision, setting a clear agenda and inspiring a group of talented people to work together toward common goals. We at the airport are very fortunate to have a CEO who is widely recognized as a leading global airport executive. And behind Howard and his team is an equally dedicated and hardworking group of 1,500 GTAA employees, people who know firsthand just how complex and challenging it can be to keep an airport running smoothly. So on behalf of the board of directors, I want to thank all of you for your energy, diligence, creativity, Howard and his team. You're helping Toronto Pearson realize its vision to be the best airport in the world. I also want to underline our appreciation for everyone who works at the airport, not just at the GTAA itself. The 49,000 people who perform important jobs each day on our runways, aprons, behind ticket counters, alongside baggage conveyors, in our shops, restaurants, and public spaces. Every one of you makes a vital contribution to the overall daily success at the airport. and so too do the various companies and organizations you work for. Our 65 air carriers, Air Canada and WestJet foremost among them, who provide nonstop service to more than 180 destinations worldwide. NAV Canada, which is responsible for air traffic control, U.S. Border Services Agency, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the Canadian Air Transport Security Authority, Peel Regional Police, and hundreds of other businesses, agencies, and organizations that make the airport function well every single day. Toronto Pearson also benefits from supportive partnerships with all levels of government, federal, provincial, municipal, including the mayors and councils and members of the Brampton, Mississauga, and Toronto communities. They understand the value of being connected, both within our region and to the rest of the world. And in fact, it is this belief in the power of connectivity that unites our large, diverse, and highly engaged community of Toronto Pearson stakeholders, several dozen of whom have generously contributed their first-person perspectives to our latest annual report, as you can see. Their support, your support, and your insights and guidance are critical to our continued success as we broaden the scope and impact of one of the world's leading airports. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Now I'm going to turn the podium over to our CEO, Howard Eng.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being part of our annual public meeting. Before I go into my outline of my speech, I'd like to take this opportunity right now to first, on behalf of the GTAA, let me apologize for the impact our temporary runway restoration project and the temporary changes that have had on the nearby neighborhoods. We understand that there have been a noticeable and upsetting increase in flight over your homes. On behalf of GTAA, I'd like to apologize at this time. I will go into more detail of those projects a little later. As David said, in 2016, demand for air travel continued to grow more than ever. People and business in our region and across Canada want fast, efficient, global access to the world. They know that Toronto Pearson, as a global hub, links Canadians to opportunities worldwide. We do the same for people coming from other parts of the world through our airports, not just to this region, but to Canada and North America. Pearson connects. That's the theme of this year's annual report, which I hope you'll pick up after this meeting. And it's a topic I'll focus on for a few minutes this afternoon, how Pearson connect to address the needs of all our stakeholders. In 2016, more than 44 million passengers traveled through Toronto Pearson. It's an 8% increase over the previous year. It is the largest airport in Canada, and it's larger by half than any other airports in Canada. Those 3 million new travelers are not only using our airport to get to this region, as I said earlier, they're using this airport to get to all of North America and the world. We help to open up new markets for innovative products and services. We facilitate business development, immigration, and tourism. And at the most basic level, we enhance the flow of people and ideas and make economies grow. The economic activity driven by our airport increased prosperity throughout the region, and most obviously in the form of additional jobs. In the past year, we updated our independent study on our economic impact, and its conclusion is that Toronto Pearson generates or facilitates more than 330,000 jobs in Ontario. The total annual economic impact of our airport is about $42 billion, or 6.3% of the province's GDP. This will reach to over $63 billion, or 6.8%, by 2030. And at the same time, our impact and our benefit extends right across the country. As you can see in our annual report, the ski resorts of central British Columbia counts on direct flights from Toronto Pearson to provide easy access for travelers to spend or invest in that region. From coast to coast, Pearson connects Canadian communities to long-term growth and prosperity. But the people we're in business to serve just don't journey from airport to airport. Regional travelers make their way to Pearson from their homes or offices. And people arriving from somewhere else usually have a few more kilometers to go before they reach their final destination. So we also have an important role to play in supporting convenient, efficient, and sustainable ground transportation. In the past year, we announced plans for a regional transit center at Toronto Pearson. This multimodal hub will integrate existing and proposed rail and bus networks, linking major cities and towns across Southern Ontario. We'll work closely with transportation agencies and all levels of governments to develop this plan. It will involve and provide easier access to our airport, but more importantly, it will offer greener, more economical, and less stressful transit options for hundreds of thousands of commuters who fight traffic every day in our region's roads. The GTA is well positioned to lead the development of the regional transit center based on our geography, our infrastructure, and above all, our experience. In the same way, we've taken the lead on developing a more integrated air transportation system for Ontario Industrial Heartland. We will look at how we can also assist in developing a ground transportation center for the region. By the way, air traffic across the region today now total about 48 million passengers. That demand will continue to grow. Toronto Pearson will continue to play a key role in supporting that increased demand, but we're working with 10 regional airports to optimize capacity together to see how we can better interconnect to meet the future growth. Our focus is not only on aviation, but on creating a better flow of people and goods across our region and across the globe. As traffic continues to grow, we're as focused as ever on operating Toronto Pearson as an efficient, self-sustaining global hub. In the past years, we worked with carriers, government agencies, and our partners to continue improving passenger flows in all areas, including security screening, custom and immigrations for both Canadian arrivals and pre-clearance to the U.S. We also continue our multi-year $300 million investment in improving our baggage processing system. All this effort are coordinated with our air carriers in making our what we call baggage master plan a reality. Baggage is just one area in which we are using technology to better integrate our systems and processes. In 2016, we adopted a concept called Airport Collaborative Decision-Making, which uses real-time data sharing to harmonize activities of the air carriers, NAV Canada, and our team, and other key players working across the airport. You see the same kind of collaboration as we work together to enhance the passenger experience at the airport. In 2016, we added 25 new shops and restaurants to make our airport more welcoming and enjoyable and to maximize the value of our existing footprint. We also revitalized some of our passenger spaces, especially in Terminal 3, where we have added more retail and dining options and expanded duty-free stores to include more luxury boutiques and goods. The impact of all these efforts is reflected in the highest score yet the airport have achieved in the Airport Service Quality Passenger Satisfaction Survey. These gains in passenger satisfaction translate into more non-aeronautical revenues as people spend more time in our restaurants and shops, and that helps to strengthen our financial sustainability. Ian Clark, our Chief Financial Officer, will be up here in a few moments to review the 2016 fiscal year with you. As I say, we saw significant growth in our non-aeronautical revenues, a gain of 7.3% to nearly $384 million. This revenue comes from fees we collect for check-in counters, kiosks, parking and ground transportation services, retails, and dining concessions. Continued increase in revenue enable us to invest in maintenance, operation, and enhance our existing assets. It also means that the fees we charge airlines can remain unchanged for the fourth year running. Our carrier's average cost per in-plane passenger is approximately 38% lower today than in 2007. In August 2016, Standard & Poor's rating service upgraded our credit rating from an A to A+, and early in the year, Moody's Investor Service gave us a similar upgrade from A1 to AA3. These external matrices confirm that what we see every day by investing prudently, managing our expenses, and constantly looking for further efficiency, we built Toronto Pearson into a self-sustaining engine of Canada's economy, well-positioned to support future growth in Canada. As David mentioned earlier, community investment is just one aspect of our commitment to corporate sustainability. Another key dimension is the environment. Over the past year, we maintain an ongoing program in areas such as stormwater and waste management, energy conservation, and the reduction of greenhouse gas emission. In 2016, Toronto Pearson was upgraded to level 3 in the global ranking for airport carbon accreditation. We're the only Canadian airport and one of just 3 in North America to achieve this recognition. Another area of impact, obviously, and I think a lot of you are here today for that, is the noise we create on the public as a result of the airport traffic. Last year, we hosted 5 public meetings of the Community Environment and Noise Advisory Committee, CNEC for short, which includes resident and elected representatives from all of our neighboring communities. We use these regular sessions to answer questions about noise issues and provide updates on mitigation efforts, such as our noise management program. At our latest CNEC meeting 2 weeks ago, community members were very concerned about changes in air traffic caused by the restoration work we're doing on one of our runways. And as I apologized earlier, I think we could have done much better in communicating that impact. As you may know, we're partway through a $30 million runway rehabilitation project that is critical to maintain the safe and efficiency of our runway system for aircraft taking off and landing. The phase of work we began 5 weeks ago has forced NAV Canada to change its operation and divert some traffic from one of our busiest runways to others, including the north-south runways. Maintaining a vital piece of infrastructure is paramount, but unfortunately, as most of you are here probably to express, it has also caused disruption and changed the noise impact around the community. So let me underline what was said at the last CNEC meeting. We have heard you, we have learned from this process, we'll do better in the future as we improve how we keep the public informed of ongoing maintenance and repairs that might affect people living nearby us. We will hold focus group meeting to hear your input so that we can improve this process in the future. Let me now turn to another important topic for many members of our airport community. The 49,000 people who works at Pearson, because as you know, our airport truly is a city within a city. Last year at this meeting, we heard from a number of airport workers and the union representatives who expressed concern over the precarious nature of some airport jobs, as well as wages and safety. These workers, and some of you may be here today, told us they understand that contract wages were set individually by the 300-plus employers operating at Pearson. Still, the people who voiced concern were clear in the view that GTAA should take a leadership role in this discussion about procurement policy and wage standard. So during the past year, we sat down with union leaders from across the airport to exchange ideas and work together on a path forward. An airport is a complex operation, and so it's no surprise that our workforce is complicated too. We have many different kinds of employers, each with their own way of hiring, managing, and compensating people. These employers operate under different legal frameworks and different set of rules, some provincial, some federal. So we partnered with the Airport Council unions to develop a 3-phase study that will give us a better idea of who we are. Phase 1, planning for which got underway earlier this year, is a benchmarking study of best practice at international airports that will help us assess today's labor environment. Just last week, the GTA and union leaders held a joint information session on the study for union representatives from across Toronto Pearson. We'll now roll out more communications to airport workers so they can participate in the discussion and share their views. We're also prepared to hold focus group in this area for all our stakeholders, including airlines, government agency, retail tenants, service contractor, and many others, as well as our own GTA team. Phase 2 of the study, which we expect to launch at the end of this year, will be a workforce demographic study. This will give us our first reliable data on the skills and wages of all current airport employees. It will also help us identify gaps and get a clearer sense of future needs. One important question we want to answer for the first time is how many employees are earning at least $15 an hour. The wage that many have suggested would be the minimum paid by airport employers. We also want to know the percentage of employees who have more than one job in Toronto Pearson. In the phase 3 of our study, we'll take the demographic data that we have collected and use it to identify future needs and staff against them. Initiatives like the workforce study and the regional transit center will not have gained momentum so quickly without the support of our board of directors. And that speaks to the critical role the board plays in all GTAA initiatives. In closing, I would thank all the directors for the wise counsel and high standards of governance that frame every decision we make at the airport. And lastly, I want to thank the 1,500 employees of the GTAA. Working with tens of thousands of colleagues across Toronto Pearson, in organizations large and small, we see firsthand how a global hub makes connection that won't otherwise happen. And now I'll turn it over to our CFO, Ian, who will go through our financial performance. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard, and good afternoon, everyone. Our vision is to become the world's best airport, and we are confidently progressing towards this goal. Our 20-year framework lays out the path forward. Operational excellence means improved customer service and delivering results with an eye on net income. Financially, our efforts are concentrated around 2 strategic goals within that framework. 1, financial sustainability, and 2, aviation growth. As an organization, we made excellent progress in 2016 against these goals, which I will share with you today. Sustainability is really about ensuring the organization's financial health is strong. To ensure long-term financial sustainability, we must generate profits and positive cash flows so investments in the airport can be made. In 2016, we generated enough cash to invest in passenger experience initiatives, invest in the infrastructure needed to support our tremendous passenger growth, and continue debt reduction efforts. We are well on our way to becoming a world-class global hub. Overall, management was successful at delivering at our plans in 2016. We reported net income of $85.5 million, representing growth from the 2015 profit of $65.9 million. Revenue grew by $85 million, largely as a result of non-aeronautical sources, and operating expenses increased over 2015 due to investments which enhanced the customer experience, mainly passenger processing. Also in 2016, we managed de-icing services for a full 12 months compared to only half a year in 2015. Prior to 2015, airlines paid third parties directly. Interest costs declined by 5% due to the continued focus on lowering our outstanding debt. This will serve to benefit the organization in years to come. A key goal is to shift the mix of revenue towards non-aeronautical sources so that we are less reliant on traditional aeronautical revenue. This provides us greater degree of flexibility and predictability. Looking at our revenue, you can see that aeronautical revenues in 2016 have modestly increased compared to 2015. The increase in this category is due to the combination of higher activity, partially offset by aeronautical rebates associated with qualifying air carrier activity. The total amount collected through airport improvement fees increased due to passenger growth. Most notably, non-aeronautical revenues increased by 11.3%, which grew faster than our passenger growth of 8%. This is due to a combination of enhanced retail, advertising initiatives in the terminal, and an increase associated with de-icing operations. How do we encourage traffic growth? When it comes to traffic growth at Pearson, we've taken the view that stabilizing rates is one of the best tools. This focus on the bottom line has enabled us to reduce or hold constant the rates we charge the air carriers for the past 9 years. In fact, posted air carrier rates are now about 25% less compared to Toronto Pearson rates in 2007. The reduced rates that we initially put in place in 2013 have now been frozen for 5 years. This provides certainties to our airline partners and encourages them to offer even more travel options for our passengers at Pearson. We continue to manage operating costs with an eye to the bottom line. Prudent management of our operating costs means that they are growing at a slower rate than traffic growth. Costs grew by 10% in 2008, as indicated by the green line, during a period where traffic grew by 37%, as indicated by the blue line. This has been achieved through initiatives like energy-saving programs and working smarter with the resources we have, while simultaneously ensuring that the quality of services is constantly improving. However, you can see that there has been a gradual increase in our operating expenses over the past few years as we reinvest our savings into improved airport operations, such as the introduction of the free baggage cart program, improving passenger processing, and making critical investments in the passenger experience. Our debt outstanding has declined from a high in 2011 of about $7.3 billion to $6.3 billion. This represents a decline of $1 billion over 5 years, quite an achievement. Interest costs were reduced by $17 million in 2016 from 2015. Reducing our interest expense provides us flexibility to invest in the airport, to enhance our service offerings, improve the passenger experience, and manage our rates and charges. As Howard mentioned, our rating agencies have improved our ratings. These improved ratings were supported by a reduction in debt and the lower net debt per passenger, which has declined from $342 in 2014 to $256 in 2016. This benefits the organization by lowering borrowing costs and further improves our access to new funding should it be needed. Aviation growth is both a measure of how well we are tracking against our goals and an important enabler for the rest of our business. Because with critical mass, we gain the benefits of scale, enabling us to continue to expand our service offerings. Timely and efficient capital expenditures must be made to accommodate this growth while monitoring passenger service and processing activities. As you can see, passenger traffic grew 46% from 2009 to a record of 44.3 million passengers in 2016. In 2016, 3.2 million more passengers traveled through Pearson. Since 2010, we have added over 13 million passengers. Growth was achieved evenly in all sectors, but is being led by international activity. This is the result of a number of new routes and new airlines that have been added. Connecting activity represents almost 31% of traffic compared to just over 26% in 2010. As we solidify our position as a true global hub airport, passengers from around the world will continue to benefit from growing choice and flexibility when it comes to their travel plans. 2016 saw continued capital spending to support this activity growth. We continue to make the capital investments necessary to ensure we are meeting the demands of growth. Some of the 2016 investments were the Terminal 3 Node C restoration, which increased the retail offer and improved the passenger experience. Security and advance of U.S. Customs to comply with the regulatory requirements and ensure a safe and secure environment, and new CATSA screening lanes for faster passenger processing. Self-serve baggage drops to improve passenger check-in time and improve passenger experience. These near-term capital priorities are funded through the yearly cash flows generated rather than financed through the issuance of new debt. Our general view going forward is that prior to making decisions to invest in new large-scale capital infrastructure, management will first optimize the use of existing facilities so that we unlock their full potential. Digging a little deeper into non-aeronautical revenue, this chart shows the success we have been having with non-aeronautical revenue growth. In 2016, we experienced solid revenue growth in ground transportation and parking, shown in red at 7.6%, as well as concession retail space, shown in light blue at 11%. This significant concession revenue growth was the result of introducing new retail and new food locations and enhancing the service offering. Most of the other revenue represents the new de-icing services brought in-house. All of this demonstrates that the efforts and investments we put into our retail strategy are delivering significant returns. Non-aeronautical revenue represented 32% of our revenues in 2016, compared to 24% in 2010. And this means we are becoming more competitive as we reduce our dependency on aeronautical revenues. To summarize our financial results, overall, management was successful at delivering on our plans in 2016. Revenue growth from non-aeronautical sources has more than helped compensate for planned slower growth in aeronautical revenues, resulting in a revenue increase of $85 million over 2015. Operating expenses increased compared to the prior year, consistent with passenger growth, while in addition supporting investments in the passenger experience. Interest costs declined due to lower debt outstanding, and we reported net income of $85.5 million, representing an increase of $19.6 million from the 2015 profit of $65.9 million. To close, as an organization, we continue the trend of producing net income from operations and also demonstrating financial responsibility and prudence. Through continued growth in traffic and revenue, we are using this net income to enhance our facilities and our passenger experience. In 2016, we generated enough cash to invest in passenger experience initiatives and invest in the infrastructure needed to support this tremendous passenger growth we're seeing at Toronto Pearson. In closing, we are well on our way to becoming a world-class global hub. Thank you.
So before we turn things over to Jim and get to Q&A, I just want to go back to the runway construction and let you folks know that construction remains on schedule. We're due for completion on May 16th. Work on phase 1 is at 80%, phase 2 is 40% complete as of the beginning of the month. I also want to take this opportunity to remind you that you can find regular updates on the construction and its progress on Toronto Pearson's social media, including Facebook and Twitter, and at torontopearson.com. And we've also got full-page ads running in tomorrow's Globe and Mail and on Saturday in the Toronto Star to let people know about the construction and to apologize for the inconvenience to both local communities and to our passengers.